What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's yours truly, Vitamin Rich, in the mix with the one and only Dr. Justin Newman, the best, and of course, Kikeposada. You couldn't understand how thankful I am for these Fridays to sharing it with these moments. And this is a lot of what we talk about, is that self. Who is that self? Who is happy? Is it the character that's happy or the self that happy? What does this all mean? Well, I will be honest with you. The best person to be able to explain this is Dr. Justin Newman. So I'm going to pass this right over to him because he can really enlighten you, as he does to me so oftentimes, to understand really the difference between this character that I am and the self and the purpose. Doc.
This is where we spend a lot of our time around the office, is talking and working with this idea. So hopefully we can add some light to what this is all about. Your self is who you really are. The characters that we play in our lives, the roles, be it mom or dad or tennis player, chef, a doctor, a therapist, they're all just characters or roles for the self. Think of them as a vehicle that you might drive, and the self is the actual driver or the pilot that's engaged with the vehicle. Many of us think of, because we get a lot of our sense of identity from the things that we invest our activity we invest ourselves into throughout our lives, and we think, I am an acupuncture physician, or I am a chef or whatever, but I am the driver within those characters. And sometimes we may get lost in a character, as wonderful as they are, and maybe because they're wonderful or very refined, we identify so much with what that is, and we may forget to keep our essence of who and what we really are on board. We're not just playing roles like actors on a stage. Many people do, because their self, or that part of themselves, very authentic and true and passionate and engaging, is a little distant. It's hovering maybe. And they're not 100% present within the character. They're playing their part and maybe drifting through life, and maybe drifting admirably, but they're not 100% engaged. And we talk about this because this is an area which we focus quite heavily on when it comes to client care, because they've made a choice to come in and work with us. That choice comes from themselves, because the self-care and self-love behind those choices is necessary to embark on a healing journey. Into whatever healthcare office you find yourself, you've chosen to go there. Hopefully it's not an emergency. You've chosen. And those choices come from who and what you really are. At the core of your sense of self is a self that's truer than the mere characters or roles that we play. And how can we identify with what that is, our core self? And how can we nurture that part of ourself? And come to experiences like they'll find when they come over to at INVITAS, when we can nurture that part of who they are and assist them along the way in their journey.
So sometimes we would say it's the self that drives a person to go and pursue and seek for treatment. Sometimes we end up in places where we don't really know why. I don't know what brought me here. Could it be the self?
Well, on that level of functioning, we have more intuition, creativity, access to information that our conscious brain doesn't have access to, and is not limited by the lens of the character. For example, a chef would see the things that chefs would see in the world that they're in. You know, a tennis player would see the things that tennis players would see in the world that they're in. The tennis player is not going to see the things that a pilot would see, or a cop, or a brain surgeon. They're going to see things that they relate to in the world that they're in. But the self has access to everything, all of it, not just what's coming through the filter or lens of that character or role. Okay? Funny thing about I don't know why I'm picking on chefs today, but it's an analogy that comes up a lot. As you perform as a very functional character, hopefully the self, your true essence is engaged, you become the master chef. You're the superhero of chefs. Now, you can still wash the dishes, but the dishwasher can't be the head chef. It doesn't work that way. Okay? The head chef can wash the dishes and prep the food, but the food prepper can't be the head chef. That's an example of fine, very fully functioning character. Hopefully the self is engaged with your sense of mission and all that good stuff. And who knows? If you're engaged with yourself, we might see the story there. Like the head chef is on a mission, clearly, but the guy who's washing dishes, he doesn't want to be the head chef. Maybe he wants to be the director of hygiene, in a something someday. Maybe hygiene is his thing and he could care less about food prep. We just assume he's in a kitchen, so he must love food. No, maybe he loves hygiene. The stories are told by the characters, but the self can see through all of that because it has more of a bird's eye view on how these characters interrelate to their sense of mission. But in the character, we can't see because we're limited to the world of that character.
We often hear the term wearing many hats. No?
Case in point, same thing.
We are like at a point we would be like here we're doing this show, but next thing I'm doing the dishes, I'm picking up the kids, and then I might be doing some community work, something totally different. No, so same person, but different roles. But what about, I was telling you before we started the show, and it has to do more with the self. Like this case, I was telling you, can't remember the therapist's name, but she would talk about a patient that would have many personalities. And at one point would be this, like it's a grown-up, but at one point would be this little girl, and she would become this little girl, even play with the toys and with the therapist. Next thing, she would be this crippled person that would lay in a bed without even moving. She physically, it was totally visible.
Wow.
You can demonstrate she wouldn't move. And next thing would be like a normal person. So that's a different pathology.
Whatever is
but
normal,
it illustrates.
Right, well said.
Yeah,
it
it's
is
very
a pathology.
common.
It is a
became
pathology.
viral, that video, but it demonstrates that the self can choose to be anything they want, to choose experiences in this plane, this life, and it's told for a purpose. I would guess, no, it's a purpose, and even relationships, because I think that relationships are the measure of they measure our growth.
And our character.
Our
as a
anything
challenge,
related to the self
challenge.
has to do with the way that we relate to others, to living things, to everything in this world.
And to ourselves.
Aren't those
the relationship
like
we have with ourselves?
Those are the challenges that we are coming to experience here. Our relationships.
There's so many great things. I just gotta add. Did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No.
No. Because I was gonna say, just to add to what everyone's saying, another insider here that Dr. Newman has taught me was, not only can we be familiarized with these characters from the self, you can actually create your next character. You can create your next character from the self. Case in point is going to be right here. So through these interesting experiences that I've gone through, whether it was through microdosing or just different alternative measures to open up and connect with the consciousness, there's a part where you reach where the ego is completely dissolved and you understand things from a higher perspective. And when you reach that level, you start to look at things through purpose because the ego is not there anymore. And through that mind frame, that mindset is where I started thinking of rich mindset. Now, I've touched on this briefly before as far as about vitamin rich and how great that is. And yeah, you're right. We can talk about vitamins and minerals, nutrients, supplements all day, every day, and twice on Sundays, no problem. But I offer more than just vitamins. I offer a mind-body-being experience of also just not only motivation, but awareness, understanding, and what is in your mind, and how does that impact your reality? So the self from those experiences created rich mindset. So when you talk to rich, or when rich mindset is present, you're talking to somebody from such a refined level where self was really the sole purpose of that. It wasn't this character. Vitamin Rich is the character for INVITAS because that's what I do. I do IVs, I do all kinds of great things, but it's all pretty much based off vitamins, diagnostics, and things of that nature. But there's a greater purpose, and that's what Dr. Newman is also talking about, is these characters. So I have to have certain characters that are within me that I've created in the past and that I can create in the future to be present in that moment to fit that reality, that narrative, that space, that box. If I bring up someone from the past, a younger, more immature version of me, into this space now, the whole conversation changes, and then it's just a mess. It's wild. It's crazy. There's a time and a place for everything. And so this character right here, Vitamin Rich, he's a good happy medium because he's about energy, he's about life, love, energy, character, all this great stuff that we're talking about. But furthermore, it's coming from a self of our purpose. So these are just something else to add to what Dr. Newman has already mentioned. You can shape your reality by the characters that you choose to want to be. If I want to be, I'm just throwing this out because it's the first thing that comes to mind, financially ridiculously wealthy, I have to change my mindset to be that character who's going to make that happen. Mm-hmm. But a broken mindset is not going to get me to the richest man in the world because it's already broke. Mm. So that self has to actually come in, and ego is something that definitely has to be checked, because I don't know if I would have processed it the same had I not had that alternative experience that I could feel when the ego was dissolved. When you feel a sense of something greater than your ego, you realize it's the divinity, because there was no me. There was just we. It was the craziest thing. And I wanted actually more of that feeling than to think it's all me. I didn't want that. That thought is so asinine, because as much as it is good here to believe in yourself, we're all interconnected anyhow. We talk about it all the time. My brother, myself. He's my brother, but I see myself in him, and vice versa. So really, you're just looking at one being, one overall divinity, love, energy, light, whatever you want to call it, whatever you relate to. But this is a really cool topic, and if you listen really closely, this can shape your world, because you can see these different characters and create your future.
Well, I like what you say about seeing the divinity in each other. As we know, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners or viewers know, in India, when they say namaste, namaste,
yes.
This is how they greet each other. And namaste, it means I greet the divinity within you. I don't greet Kike or Richard. I'm greeting
I don't care much
soul
about
that's
their character.
inside of the yes, as I see that divinity in you that's in me.
Wow.
It's reflected each other. So namaste, not just hi. Hey, Vitamin Rich. Hey, without acknowledging the self inside Vitamin Rich, that driver, like you were saying, where the perspective that comes from a more divine level is driving with mission. Which characters are going to be helpful as I grow through this situation or this experience? And of course, you create and invite these new characters, like you were saying about a rich mindset. Vitamin Rich is still functioning in there, but now we're looking at something on a whole nother wavelength. That's about your mindset and your sense of purpose, and including that within the character. We choose with purpose. With purpose. I don't step into a situation where I need to be the best acupuncture physician I can be, but I bring the mindset and skill set of a golfer. That's not going to work. I got to have a character that's engaged by myself with a sense of purpose, but the character fits. We get to read, what is the situation? What is the situation or the world I'm stepping into? Oh, wow, it's like this. The character can be created from yourself. That's the best, most functional, appropriate fit for that situation. Yeah, I could bring out the best golfer in me, which is not very great, by the way, but it doesn't fit. I need to be a dad here, or a doctor, or something else. But the self knows, because the ego's not there, like you said. It's in the back seat. But the self says, oh, this is the situation. I need to be functioning like this. Here's a new character, maybe. I was coaching somebody at a pharmaceutical company. I'll leave out the name. And she has a big presentation to put together with some partners in Switzerland. Her first one, okay? And she's doing a fairly good job. We're coaching her through this experience. And she says, I have a great creator character that's brainstorming and creating all this. I have a great researcher that's putting all the data together. It's accurate. And then there's a great producer that gets the team motivated. They're different. You're brainstorming, but now you're doing the work. They're different. But I don't know how to put them together. And much like what you said, she realizes I need that new character. I need that facilitator that opens doors, makes things happen, greets people, greases those wheels. So you don't just go from A to B. There's a transition. As you open up to whatever else is there, maybe I need to invite, like you said, or create. Oh, what's the character that fits here? I've got these parts pretty good, but there's another piece that's going to help me grow to the next level. From the self, we can connect and see, as you've said, what that is. But the ego sometimes will block us. Not that we don't, it serves a purpose, but sometimes the ego, it'll have us make choices that maybe are good for us, but maybe not really good for us. We don't know, but the self knows. The ego might protect you because it has to protect its own self, the identity of. Yes. Then the identity of the character is tied to ego in a way, but the self doesn't need any of that because it's beyond and includes all of that stuff.
So could we say that the ultimate goal for any human being is to be able to get in tune with that self and finally reach a balance between character or ego and self, like a line?
And with the world that you're in, with purpose.
With purpose. Mm-hmm.
It's those.
Because for many people, success is just being able to achieve whatever the character sets, as a goal, as a purpose. But suddenly, once they reach those goals, they don't feel fulfillment.
Well, they overshot the runway.
A little bit. Fulfillment will come from yourself.
They overshot the runway. Meaning there's a runway that's so big and they're looking for happiness outside of them. But obviously, as we know, happiness is within us. It's within our heart, within our mind.
But we often, we listen to that all the time.
I know. Trust me.
Since we come into this world, they say, look inside. The happiness is not on the other things. And yet, it seems like we do the opposite.
I trust me.
All the time.
No, I get it. And really what it is it's a reflection of who you used to be. So whenever you have that doubt of feeling a certain way, it's just showing you a character that used to feel a certain way. But if you don't commit to that feeling and you realize, wow, thank God I'm not that character anymore. I am going to be happy. I'm going to do something that's going to help me feel better, or I'm going to do something positive, help someone, do some kind of treatment process, a smile, gratitude. These types of things will start to generate a sense of happiness. It'll release hormones within your body. So therefore, the happiness does come within you chemically, but also mentally. And then you get to pay it forward and help somebody else who most likely is in the same situation. That's right. We always hear happiness is within us. But what the hell does that really mean? Of course, I wake up with times that I'm challenged too, which is a very interesting thing because Dr. Newman and I were talking about this some time ago. And it was, why is it that certain days a certain character wakes up and other days another character wakes up? This is what I don't understand. And what we've kind of concluded is that it has to also do with the nutrition.
The most extreme case was what I just told about this person.
Right.
But we experienced the same thing. Sometimes we are behaving, I call it like behavior. We behave a certain way.
Yes.
We're so kind.
Yeah.
We're so proper,
Right.
And then we are assholes.
Yes, yeah.
And,
for sure. And not only to other people, but to ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves. I heard some crazy
the way we treat ourselves.
The way we treat ourselves. I heard some crazy things. Someone said self-love is selfish. What the? But I need your help on this. I didn't understand that.
It's a matter of perspective. People misunderstand this a lot. It's true, and this is again the motivator that people often will lean on when seeking healthcare or healing. Is that motivator? It's not selfish. It's self-full. It's so full. People, it's a perspective.
So
I'm choosing to do things for myself, but not because it's selfish and it excludes you. It can be inclusive. I'm choosing to be more invested in how do I bring myself on board so I can make healthy choices for myself as I'm healing from a pathology, whether it's multiple personalities or cancer or whatever.
Right.
I have to choose to do that, and I get to invest in that so I can be more present in the service of others.
Right.
Too. It's rather than selfish, it's self-full. I'm more involved with myself as myself. And everyone in the world around me deserves that I be present and functioning like that. Yeah, even the best character will reach its capacity at some point. And like we were talking about, it may have the ego, that's this kind of thing. But the self doesn't have any of that. Those, like you were saying, being grateful, having a smile, being positive. These motivators, they really come from this harmonious part of ourself, that truer sense of ourself where these positives naturally flow. But the character may have its own understanding of the world that he or she is in, its own lens again, a sense of agenda that maybe aligns with the mission, but maybe not.
Yeah. No,
whether the mission's healthcare or something else.
Right. It's interesting. I'd like to just add a little something to that, which is those around you should also want you to take care of yourself. If you really care for your friend, your partner, whatever it may be, it's not selfish if they make a decision to better themselves. Because as a friend, as a brother, as a whatever, that's what we are all connected. So, as your other part, as we're interconnected, I want you to be at your best level. I want you to be healthy and make the decisions and the choices that are right for you. It has nothing to do with me. If you're too worried about me and not worried about you, then what kind of friend am I to you if I'm not even worried about you? Because I'm more worried about me and you worrying about me.
And as you said, there's a we.
That's crazy.
Look, everyone's heard this expression, a rising tide lifts all boats. If I do well, you do well. If I encourage you to do well, it benefits me too. Plus, the whole society is raised up this way.
Remember that hairdresser here in Miami, Sammy?
Yes.
If you look good, I look better.
You look great.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Yep, that's true.
So this is true. And there are so many things you can do to nurture that part of yourself and help other people nurture that part of themselves. Yes. Because it's worth it.
Yes.
But it's got to be self to self.
Yes.
The character, if I'm talking to your character, then I'm talking with the language of the character and I'm seeing through the eyes of the character. And I might not say things in the way that you're going to understand them because your character is going to hear and say things from the perspective of their character. If it's self to self and we're both self-full or soulful, then we're going to naturally gravitate toward harmony and productive and healing for each other, for everybody.
Yes. This is a perfect time to just kind of tap into something real quick, and please elaborate. What the hell does that really mean, the self to self? What does that really mean? Like, what are all these hats and these characters that we're talking about? The self, from my understanding, and this is why I asked if you could elaborate and then kind of fine-tune what I'm saying to make sure that I understand it. The self is a place of no judgment, of love, acceptance, openness, mindfulness, consideration, empathy. Those are traits, I believe, of the self. Once the ego gets involved, then it shifts everything. I always say this: if we bring something all to the table, there's abundances of everything. I may not have what you have, but together, now we all have what we all have. The moment you start pulling, well, this is mine. Well, this is this is mine. Well, you're lucky I got this. Well, you're lucky I'm here. That kind of stuff right there will completely fracture everything. It is all ego, and it will completely destroy everything. And now you don't have abundances of everything because you're just in what you offer. So I've learned that working on a purposeful sense, when you give your all, when you give what you have without expecting anything in return, you have everything. Mm-hmm. There's everything fully present for you. They will find the things that you need in their measures. As I, giving everything, will find what I can, what you need in my measure to be able to offer it to everybody. That's abundances. That is the self. Thinking egoless. It's not a matter of me, it's a matter of we. That thought, that process is the self. The character is, hey, this shit is like this because I'm like this. No, stop. It's not me. It's what I've been taught by my teachers, my mentors, the environment around me, and then how I process it and the connection that I have with myself. So am I off? Give me some feedback. Tell me what my perspective is and where I maybe need to refine it. Or
no, you're very much on point. Very
Mm-hmm.
much. The ego might have its own agenda that may not be in line with the self and the mission or the purpose, as you were saying. Being purposeful, the ego can do a part, but only its part. And it may have its own agenda, like you were saying. Me, mine, this, I'm the best, and you guys suck, or whatever. You know, that may cause us to divert from our sense of mission or purpose. But the one key thing here that you've been touching on quite a bit is that of the doing, of the experiencing, of the aliveness that's there. It's not enough to just think about it and to have the idea or to know that happiness comes from within. That's an idea. Where is the actual? Where is the experience part? This is where a lot of people go awry, because everyone in the world is, not everyone, a lot of us are very mental. We got to figure it out. There's a lot of information, a lot of stuff going on. How does it all fit together? And there's an infinite number of variables. You can't do it. But the self is that one thing. Like we were talking about that guy he just juggles, but he just juggles one ball. You know, right. The rest of us are frantically trying to juggle a bunch of things, without the perspective of how does it all fit together. And this ego will have its own idea about that. Where I'm going to juggle these balls a little bit more sophisticatedly, and those, well, I'll throw them a little higher so I don't have to think about them this week. The ego may have in its agenda, but the self sees it all. Yeah, I'm juggling 10 things, but I know, well, these couple things are urgent, and those things, they have their place. They're all important to me as an ego, as a self. But maybe those things genuinely do only come around once a week or once a month, but I don't have to give them the same importance as the thing I do right now. I'm going to throw those balls and juggle them as I need to, but some have the urgency that they need because the self has that mission or that purpose behind what's driving. But the key is the experience. It can't just be the idea. You have to live it and do it and have its own actual aliveness behind it, so that you don't have to take our word for it. We could tell you about vitamin C, right, or detox infusions, but until you're actually decongesting and you're actually getting clear and there's an actual, you don't have to take our word for it, because there's an experiential component. And this is, I think, in part what all of us benefit from when we're embarking on a healing journey, is that we're willing to experience something, to open up and take a step, even if the ego maybe is nervous about that. Like the woman with multiple personalities. That's a coping. She copes with post-traumatic traumas and things in most cases. It's dissociated. To protect the ego, we've dissociated to have different characters to cope with a trauma that's in the past somewhere, and they're all just coping pathological masks of a character. But the self, once you engage with that sense of purpose and unity and mission and harmony, like you were saying, then it drives the character to be more selfless in its own way and more purposeful in its own way, because the self is engaged. The ego, like you said, it's taking a back seat. I need to have this identity character as the best acupuncture physician in Miami. I need to present that way. Not just because I've been at it for 20 plus years, as you've been at your thing for 20 plus years. We're working at that level because we're experts. And a character has its own theatrics and its own, but we also include our true self, our essence within that. And we encourage everyone to do the same. That way you don't have to have the idea of, what do I do next? Because the aliveness will tell you about itself. It'll be obvious what the next steps are, because your self sees how all those pieces fit together and what's ultimately good for you. And sometimes putting the ego into the back seat for a moment, is a good thing. Sometimes saying no is a good thing. Sometimes saying yes, but, and having a boundary that's maybe permeable, but you can't, maybe your character is give, and you're going to burn out. Maybe it's yes, but how about at 5? Or yes, I love to, but maybe this weekend. That way you can continue investing and nurturing yourself and not give all that energy away. When you need, and then the rising tide, right? Sometimes you got to say no, and it's the best thing that person can hear so that they can experience the thing that maybe they're putting on your plate. Maybe they're lazy or whatever it is, and we could be enabling. I can be very enabling, but sometimes I say, no, I want to help you and I can, but you have to walk through that door. You have to do. I might burn out, but it's not my job. Maybe we'll go together, but you have to take that step. And sometimes we say no so they can do it and experience. If they get lost in the ideas, then they'll say, Dr. Newman's a jerk. He never helps me with anything, and that's the character, But inside all that, Dr. Newman's a jerk is I get to walk through that door now. How cool is that? I can be empowered to take that step. I'm not obligating Dr. Newman to go with me. It's my journey. Dr. Newman doesn't have the cancer. Dr. Newman doesn't have the diabetes or the whatever. He's telling you stop eating sugar or do whatever the heck. Not because, he's mean or whatever. It's because no is the best answer for you.
Wow, that's nice.
Or yes, but nevertheless, the ego has to sometimes be there, but checked with the self so that we're a balanced being in the world that we're in. We have our identities, but then they're driven by that mission.
Right.
Both. Or we can get lost in the character.
I love it when Dr. Justin Newman, it's all fired up.
Deep.
Sorry, I get fired up.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's deep. It's profound in so many different directions, internal and external.
People suffer. People suffer.
Vibration.
I was with somebody came by yesterday. She had been having months and months of panic attacks and anxiety symptoms so bad she's been in ERs because maybe it was a heart attack. Or ERs because the numbness from the muscle tension was so great that her face was numb from the stress. Wow. And she's like, I'm having a stroke. Like, it's all in your head. They ran all the tests, CAT scans, EKGs, MRIs, blood work. You're fine. But why do I feel this way? This is the power that the mind has on the body. Wow. It's so huge. And they cry. It's like, I have no hope. Am I going to live my whole life with panic? And they don't know what, it's mysterious. Am I dying? I'm in and out of hospitals.
Jesus,
no,
so
it's just that you're in such a tight space that not only is your character limited in how it functions, but yourself isn't present. Yourself isn't there. No doctor is going to unlock that for you until you find it within yourself and choose to even take a baby step. This is how disconnected people are. They suffer because they just don't have that sense of connection to themselves and an understanding of in what ways does the feedback I'm getting from the world I'm in create pressure and symptoms and sensations that I need to open up to and include somehow because, as we've talked about, there are nutrients inside that pressure. I and that character need that, but it has to fit or else I'm going to get stuck and have pain and suffering as a result. But I don't know. That's why I get passionate. People suffer, and a lot of it is needless when you include the self even a little.
So these are the kind of conversations that happen all the time at INVITAS.
Yeah, that's true.
And we offer, as Vitamin Rich will tell you, and Rich Mindset also, as they'll all tell you, all the characters, they're all going to tell you.
All of them. All of them.
There's an experience that's created for you. It's your space, your essential oil, your lighting level, your tailored treatment for you, yourself. The character needs healing, yes, but the self can be comfortable and vulnerable in that space. There's downtime for you. You can, unplug, but plug in also to yourself in that space that's being facilitated for you.
And, just as a reminder, you guys are here in Miami and you offer, just give us a quick list of all the services you provide, aside from putting you in back on track. On the physical side, let's say.
Well, we we really are a group of specialists who offer mind, body, being treatments, anywhere from hypnotherapy, psychotherapy. Obviously, there's a functional medicine specialist on board. We're into IV vitamin infusions, diagnostics, but we also very much are into coaching. That's a big factor in it. Overall, when we integrate these practices, it's important to be able to integrate these practices. One is great, but when you combine all of them together, it's even more of a extraordinary feeling, because most places aren't really doing it like that. And if they do, they're going to break your bank account trying to offer you these services. So what we want to do is we want to offer something as it should be. Again, purpose. The purpose is, I know I can offer you all of these amazing things that are going to help you. My ego is telling you, but you got to talk to me only from this perspective, because I will be compensated for that. Stop. That's ridiculous. That's not what we do. You probably go to some place like that, and no knock on them, but that's not what we do. We're in purpose. So understand, ultimately what we offer is, you're dealing with a group of specialists who are constantly striving to be in their purpose for the greater good of those who we can serve. We are honored to be able to see the butterfly effect every day. We see different people, caterpillars, come in at different stages, and then we see them fly off and evolve. And by far, we are very lucky for what we do. So we do quite a few different things, but ultimately, as far as services, that's also a factor. We're also, we offer Reiki. We use Balipura, which is
massage therapy.
Massage. I didn't say that. I'm so sorry, because our massage therapists are amazing. Like every other specialist in our practice. Again, we probably have close to about 100 years.
Right, I know, or 1,000 years of experience. Well, look, and the other thing is, we were saying, is personalized for you. If you come in and you need detox, there's detox infusions, maybe diagnostics as well. There's lymphatic drainage massage for detox.
Yes.
Maybe we have to detox our mindset. In terms of the whole being, there's many components. Maybe you come in for diagnostics and you get infusions, but as we add some other components, maybe these become relevant in ways that help to expedite the process of your healing.
Right.
They all, as you were saying, they all work together.
Right. And these
it's a total being experience.
Virtual. So regardless of where you're at, you can actually reach out to us, and we can have this conversation virtually. We'd love to have you in the office, but perhaps maybe you're too far for you to physically be in the office. However, we can definitely make it a point to be here to at least hear and understand your questions, comments, concerns, or even just to reach your goals. And if you don't have goals, let's set some goals, and then let's break right through them. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know we don't run to the finish line. You run past the finish line.
Exactly.
He's energized.
Oh man, I love it, bro. You don't even understand.
This is the reason why the first person to swim across the English Channel, they failed the first time, and they were so close. There was fog that rolled in, and they couldn't see the other shore, and so they started to get discouraged, and they eventually gave up. Jeez. And they were only like so far. Or runners who run the race and they see the finish line and they start slowing down so they can stop at the finish line. No way.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Right. Nice.
Break right through.
Fire, power. That's what's up, man. You see that? You feel that? Awesome, dude.
He's doing the homework.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Love it.
And I really enjoy being with you guys every Friday. It's one of the best times of the week. Mm-hmm. So I feel already charged for the weekend, and well, it's amazing. Everything we get from you guys here at the channel. So much to think about, process, feel. We're going to be editing this, converting it into audio, so it will be available also as a podcast. For
again, Kikeposada, the best, the one and only, the best, Kikeposada.
So make sure you look out for that, and in the meantime, well, enjoy. Mm-hmm. It's been a fun show to do. Definitely. We have to put our sight more into the self, because it's definitely the one that's going to bring us to the other side. We're going to make it in a good shape.
Yes. And invest in those things for yourself. Fitness. Mm-hmm. fitness, exercise, meditation, these things that you can do to invest in
self-love.
yourself, self-love. There are things that can be
Acts of
done.
kindness, random acts of kindness.
Yeah, invest in that.
And then I leave you all with this last thought before we go. Or not even thought, it's more of a statement. The most beautiful person you will ever meet is yourself.
Beautiful.
By far. And the most beautiful poem you will ever hear is your name, because that's the story of your legacy. Be well.
Wow.
Stay strong. Let's go.
You made my week, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Love you.
That's how we roll. That's how we roll.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
This is what we live for.
Yes, sir.
Are we lined up? I know we can. This is easy. See, we've experienced it. It's live.
Yeah, let's take advantage because the way things are, we will no longer know what's alive or not.
Wow.
But that's another topic.
That's a whole other subject.
See you next week.
Absolutely.
Enjoy.
So, woo! Justin Newman, kikeposada, with Luna, baby!
Our listeners, our viewers.